We should all be calling for the resignation of the Attorney General. If he won't resign,
Attorney General William Barr ought to be ashamed and embarrassed and resign.
I have formally requested that the Inspector General of the Justice Department investigate this matter immediately.
Democrats are crying foul, calling on Attorney General Barr to resign and demanding an investigation after the DOJ's decision to reduce Roger Stone's sentence.
This as newly revealed anti-Trump social media posts from the four-person on Stone's jury that convicted Roger Stone, now raising questions about how fairly the case was handled.
All right, here to discuss is Fox News senior judicial analyst and host of Liberty File on Fox Nation, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge?
Let me say at the outset that I have known Roger Stone for 40 years. I'm going to take that out of the equation. He's absolutely entitled to a new trial with a member of the jury making these kinds of revelations about the politics involved in the decisions to prosecute him. Before we even get to the propriety of the sentence and whether the president can weigh in on the sentence, I'll explain to you how that works. My views are the same as the former Attorney General. Look, I've presided over 150 jury trials. It is most were criminal. It is the duty of the judge to ensure that both the government and the defendant get a fair trial. And if the judge discovers afterwards that there was a built-in inherent bias on the part of a member of the jury against the defendant, that is an automatic trigger for a new trial. She's going to have to call those jurors back in and interrogate them or make a decision on the spot.
Well, because after the prosecutors quit the case, this woman, Tamika Hart, former Memphis City School Board's president, announced she was the foreperson and she was supporting the prosecutors. But apparently, when you look at her social media, she has a long history of anti-Trump comments. The big question is whether or not they looked in during the jury selection process, looked at her social media history and her political views.
They obviously did not. She's entitled to whatever opinions she wants, and she can put whatever she wants on social media. But she can't be a juror in a trial rife with the politics of Donald Trump and Roger Stone.
Judge, is 9 years too much? That's what they recommended.
Absolutely too much. You know, the Attorney General Whitaker was just explaining to you how the algorithm works, how you add aggravating and mitigating factors. Those are subjective. Is Roger Stone a danger to society? Absolutely not. Was anybody harmed as a result of what Roger Stone did? Absolutely not. Is the President of the United States of America, who is the chief federal law enforcement officer in the land, entitled to express an opinion to his Attorney General about a case the DOJ is prosecuting? Of course he is. One of the greatest attorney generals in our lifetimes was the president's brother. Don't you think they talk to each other? When are you going to indict Jimmy Hoffa? I've been waiting for that for a long time. That would be a normal and expected conversation.
So the tweet is what drives people. They say the tweet was provocative and a signal to AG Barr.
I agree with Senator Graham. The president should have done it sub rosa. Should have picked up a phone and said, "Why are these guys recommending 9 years? Forget that I know Stone. I would give him probation. But I'm speaking as if I were the president. Forget that I know him. Forget that he worked for me. 9 years is outrageous. Take care of this,
Wait a
Bill.
minute, Judge.
There's nothing wrong with that conversation.
You're saying that the president picked, it was a phone conversation that got the president into trouble with the Democrats.
That is true.
So if he picks up the phone and says, "Hey, Bill, what are they doing over there?" Somebody's going to be in the room. They're going to leak that. Next thing, they're going to be another impeachment.
The Democrats will impeach him for anything they can.
They're going to try on this.
I had a view that was against the grain on the impeachment, which is now history. There is no basis for interference here. There's no basis for an investigation. The president is the chief federal law enforcement officer of the land. He's entitled to express an opinion to the DOJ.
You're very clear.
He could pardon him.
Yes, that would end this mess. The judge has a mess on her hands now.
I'm sure the Democrats would turn the page if he pardoned him.
I doubt it.
By the way, the Democrats are determined to drive up his points another 10 points.
Just like they did a few months ago.
What were the specifics of what Roger Stone did? I mean, he lied under oath.
Okay, so there's two kinds of lies without getting dramatic. There's a lie that sends the government on a wild goose chase and makes them waste resources. And there's a lie that as soon as you tell it, everybody knows you told it. That's what this was. He lied allegedly, and was found guilty of it, to Congressman Schiff's committee. They knew immediately that they had documents which contradicted what he said. The threatening a witness, He threatened to kill the witness's cat.
Right.
He was nowhere near the cat.
He's got no track record of killing cats.
Correct. The witness himself wrote to the judge and said, I didn't feel threatened or intimidated.
Did the cat feel threatened?
The cat's still around.